Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rocky.
Happy birthday
Shall we?
to you.
Welcome to a special episode of Jay's Lego Adventures. I'm Jay. It's been a year since I started this channel, and I thought it'd be a good time to look back at where we've came from over the past year and where we're going in the upcoming year. So welcome to my first ever year in review. One of the hardest things about this channel was getting it going. I had the first episode filmed and then waited a week or two to release it. At one point, I was even thinking of not releasing it. But then I remembered a couple pieces of advice that I picked up from YouTube, from a couple of videos I watched on starting your own channel. The first was, just film it and post it. And the second one was to remember, your first few videos are gonna suck. And in my opinion, boy did mine ever. But as I went on, my videos got better. Now, they still have a ways to go, but I have come so far. A few of the things I noticed while going over these videos is if I'm not using a script, I say all right a lot. All right, 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 all right. In the building of Rivendell, I counted 40 times that I said all right before I stopped counting. I also noticed I made a lot of assumptions in these builds. Looks like here's where the front is, and here's where the back is. Half of those were wrong. I was wrong earlier when I said that this was the front and this was the back. So you just have to Willy Wonka it.
Strike that. Reverse it.
This is the front. This is the back. Over the past year, I built 16 Lego sets which were contained in 226 numbered bags. I've put together 30,432 Lego pieces. I added lights to 3 sets, and I also filmed 6 non-building episodes, including this one. Spent over 97 hours building sets or adding lights to sets. Now that doesn't include the time I took sorting the sets. If you add that in, it would be approximately 140 hours. For those of you who have watched every episode of Jay's Lego Adventures, you've watched me build Legos and review them for over 26 hours. For those of you who have not seen all the episodes of the past year, I'm going to give an overview of what I've done on this channel. For those of you who have, let's take a trip down memory lane. This first episode was my welcome episode, which is really rough for me to watch today. Even though it's just me introducing myself and explaining what the channel's about, I made this on my phone, which I still use, and a selfie stick. So it made me feel like I was watching a very bad version of the Blair Witch Project. You better believe I made sure I got a proper tripod by the next episode. The next 2 episodes built Camaro Z28, which took me about 5 hours and 26 minutes to build. Now I did notice while I was watching this video that I was doing something that I still catch myself doing today. Looking down at my script, I also realized that I didn't know how to shut off the autofocus on my camera. Another thing I didn't know about at the time was audio ducking. So every time I'd go to give my thoughts, I would shut off the music. Although episode 3 was the first episode to use the intro that I'm still using to this day. The next 3 episodes built Luke Skywalker's land speeder, which took me about 5 hours and 16 minutes to build. This set I found at my local Walmart on clearance for $100, which was a pretty big savings. Episode 4 was the first time I used a cold open. And by that time I'd also got my lavalier mic, so the sound quality was hopefully better. Episode 4 was also my first use of an end screen. Although it wasn't until episode 6 that I started using the phrase, "So, let's get to building." Next was my first holiday episode, called Santa's Lego Adventures. This episode built a gift with purchase set, a tribute to Galileo Galilei, which took me all of 45 minutes to build. I also announced that I'd be doing speed build episodes of all the sets I built. These would be straightforward building videos with no introduction, no thoughts, and no comments. After my Christmas episode, I began what I called my trilogy of Batmobiles. The next 3 episodes saw the building of the Batman Batmobile Tumbler, which took me about 5 hours and 45 minutes to complete. These episodes also had my first use of film clips in the episodes. This build was frustrating because of having to rebuild sections because either an error with the camera or user error. I put pieces in the wrong place and didn't notice till much too late. But overall, it was a pretty satisfying build. The second part of my trilogy of Batmobiles was episodes 11 through 17, which built a 1989 Batmobile from Tim Burton's 1989 Batman. This build took me about 14 hours and 12 minutes to build, but I don't count this as my longest set because of, again, user error, putting a piece in the wrong spot and not noticing it till later, so having to rebuild it. Plus another chunk of that episode was putting the lights on. The first for this episode was me using picture-with-picture. Also, if you've seen some of the episodes, you'll notice I had painter's tape on the table. That was mainly to mark out the field of view of the camera. That way I could make sure I was keeping everything in frame. The last episode of this build had my first attempt at multi-camera angles. During this build and the next, I remodeled my Lego room, which led to me taking a break from the trilogy of Batmobiles and filming my first non-build video. My cleaning Legos episode came from me stupidly not covering my Legos before I sanded the walls, so they ended up all covered in dust. This episode is just like it sounds. I demonstrated different ways to clean Legos. This episode saw the first use of audio ducking. This is where you lower the volume of the music so it plays underneath your speaking. This episode also had my first blooper reel. After 18 episodes, I finally got 50 subscribers. Now that number had slowly been inching up since I posted my first episode. Once I hit that number though, it steadily increased week over week. I was delayed finishing my trilogy of Batmobiles because I was awaiting delivery of a couple parts I needed for the final set. So, episode 19 saw us add lights to the first set I built, the Camaro Z28. Adding lights to this set took me approximately 2 hours and 55 minutes. One thing I noticed in this episode, for some weird reason, I had trouble saying centimeter. Finally, with episode 20, I finished my trilogy of Batmobiles with the classic TV series Batmobile. A friend at work had found this set at an estate sale and paid $5 for it. When I got it home and I inventoried the set, I found it was missing a few pieces. After going through my loose Lego, I didn't have those pieces, so I had to order these pieces off bricklink.com. It took a few weeks for the parts to be delivered, hence the delay of the completion of the trilogy. Now, up until this point, I had given one of my scores as challenge. After building this set, I realized it wasn't a challenge at all. So, in fairness, I decided to change challenge to interest factor. Basically telling how interesting the set is instead of how challenging. It worked out. The next 5 episodes built Lord of the Rings Rivendell. Now this build took me 12 hours and 58 minutes, which was just a minute longer than Barad-dûr. So this makes this my longest build. This build also has the distinction of having the largest piece count of any set I've built on video at 6,167 pieces. The set that had the most, the Titanic. This set also has the distinction of being the widest set I've built on camera, 29 inches. The other one, Titanic, 4.5 feet. This set of episodes has several firsts. One, It was the first time I used 3 different camera angles. Episode 23 saw me shooting longer videos, and episode 26 had my first in-depth review. Those ended up turning into full episode-length reviews. With the completion of Rivendell, which ended with episode 26, we have come to the midway point of the first year of Jay's LEGO Adventures. This next episode was my second holiday video, for which I built the wildflower bouquet. It took me around an hour and 56 minutes. This episode was a Mother's Day special. After building the wildflower bouquet, I put it in a vase and gave it to my mother for Mother's Day. The next 4 episodes saw me adding lights to the Lord of the Rings Rivendell set. This took me 13 hours and 3 minutes, which made it by far the longest it has taken me to add lights to a set. The light set was very frustrating due to the fact of big hands, tiny spaces where to make the connections and run the wires, and also wires pulling out of the plugs. In the next 6 episodes, we built and reviewed Dungeons & Dragons: The Red Dragon's Tale. This set was built in 10 hours and 33 minutes. Now, some firsts for this set were, it was my first time ever building a modular set. Found it very interesting how they come apart so you can play with them and put them back together so they look good. Also, it was my first time building a dragon, which I really enjoyed. Another first was episode 37, which was the first full episode-length review of a set. Now in this review, I went into great detail on some of the areas of the set, and I also showed some of those interesting techniques I always talk about. For the next 6 episodes, we return to Middle-earth to build my tallest build so far. 33 inches tall, Lord of the Rings, Barad-dûr. Also in this set of episodes, we built the gift with purchase, the Fell Beast. Building these 2 sets took 12 hours and 56 minutes, during which time I had to keep adjusting my camera higher and higher because the build kept getting taller and taller. The height of the build also caused me to have to use vertical stills in the video to show the whole thing. For the next 3 episodes, we left the land of Middle-earth and traveled to the beachside town of Amity to build Jaws, which took about 3 hours and 45 minutes. This set was cool because there were multiple ways to display it. One, you could display the shark on a stand and the orca by themselves, or you can display it as a diorama representing the famous "you're gonna need a bigger boat" scene. These episodes are also the first time I used video clips throughout the episode. Episodes 47 through 50 saw us build the Transformers Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, which took a total of 6 hours and 3 minutes to build both. These were fun because both lived up to their name and were actually able to transform. The last building episode of the first year of this series built 3 sets of flowers: the lotus flower, roses, and the sunflower. All 3 of these sets took a total of an hour and 15 minutes to build. This episode kind of felt like a step back for me because it was recorded and edited earlier, so it's not as polished. Overall, I would say this past year has been a learning experience. Aside from learning how to film and how to use the editing software, I had to learn patience. It took me 19 weeks just to reach 50 subscribers. At times that was a little disheartening, but my love of building Legos and sharing it with people like you has kept me going. And now, at week 52, with a lot of perseverance and a lot of dedication, I now have 390 subscribers. But I think we can do better. I would like, during my next year in review episode, to be able to announce that I have 800 or even 1,000 subscribers, and you can help me. First, you can, as always, like this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. The other thing you can do is tell your friends about Jay's LEGO Adventures so this channel can grow. I would really appreciate that. Some stuff I have for the upcoming year is to build a new Batman Classic TV series Batmobile, which is on the same scale as the 1989 Batmobile. I also plan to build a mock of Baby, the 1967 Chevy Impala from the TV show Supernatural. There's also various smaller sets that I have that I'd like to build. I'd like to do a tour of my Lego room episode for you. I would also like to do a question and answer episode where you, the viewer, send me questions and I answer them. Let me know below if that is something you'd like to see. And I'll also be putting lights on 3 sets. Luke Skywalker's Land Speeder, Batman's Tumbler, and the first set of Year 2, Hogwarts Castle. Hopefully, you'll continue on this adventure with me. So tell your friends and come back next week when we begin the build of Hogwarts Castle with bags 1 through 7. If you'd like a more in-depth look at any of these sets I've discussed today, check out this playlist.